Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 3 of theCUBE's live coverage of Kubecon, CloudNativeCon EU, live in Amsterdam. I'm your host, Rebecca Knight, alongside with Rob Strechay, the principal analyst. Rob, this is it. This is our last interview of the day.
This is, but we always save the best for last.
Indeed we have. With that, I would like to welcome Bianca Lewis, Executive Director, OpenSearch Software Foundation. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, no, this is not your first time on theCUBE. You spoke with Rob about at KubeCon North America, and back then you were talking about the explosive growth of the community, and I want to hear where the growth is today and what that looks like on the ground now.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so excited. It seems to be hopping from KubeCon to KubeCon.
Yes, it feels like it, doesn't it?
Right. So on that basis, we have our half-yearly biannual update. And I'm really glad and I'm excited to fill you in that the last time we spoke, I was pretty new. I was like 1 month into the job or 1 day into the job.
It felt like it, yeah. Right? I think it was 1 month. I think it was, you had a solid 1 month under you at that point.
Yeah, quite possibly, right? And at that stage you were like pushing 1 billion downloads and we were in a wave of innovation. So after 1 month it would be difficult for me to take credit to that part of the growth. But since then, in the last half year, that growth has not only continued, but it's accelerated into the market. So we're on those figures, we're at more than 1.4 billion downloads already. We've got new premier members come into the foundation, like IBM since last we spoke, pushing us forward. It's amazing to see the magic of open source. Once you reach that sort of experimental phase and you move into full production phase, where you see those hyperscalers like IBM's and Amazon all working together on the same platform, and that's exciting. In the last 2 months, we've got 4 new members. The largest user of data in the world, as far as I know, has joined, but it's not yet been announced.
Okay, all right.
Well, but you're gonna talk about it in a few weeks at OpenSearch Con in the EU here as well, right? And that's just coming around the corner.
A little teaser.
A little teaser. So the massive discussion this week has been around AI, obviously, and really OpenSearch has really accelerated into that space as well, moving from being kind of a project to being more like a platform. Kind of talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it follows the AI explosion that KubeCon this year, as we touched on last year, is full of what does AI actually mean. What was interesting is about a week and a half ago in the NVIDIA keynote at GTC, I don't know if you've managed to watch that?
Oh yeah, I was there actually, so.
Okay, so I'm going to use that as an example about answering your question.
Yes.
So what happened there is in the keynote, they've positioned OpenSearch as the key AI data infrastructure layer for their AI infrastructure. Nemo Clause specifically for their agentic AI.
Wow.
And I think this is coming to a key part where enterprises with the scale of agentic AI, it's very difficult to look at AI infrastructure in silos anymore. We're not looking at a solution for observability and a solution for search and a solution to build their AI apps and a solution to monitor apps. I think now what we really need is we're building an AI data infrastructure that you can build those use cases on. So super exciting things with agentic AI that we're doing, platform-wide that we're getting into, and it's being adopted, by the hyperscaling companies.
Is that asking a lot of one platform though, in terms of one layer? What are you hearing from users about how that's working?
Yeah, I think it's a general trend in the market of consolidation now. The funny thing when you're working in data is that things go in cycles, right? We consolidate, we separate, we keep the data inside, we push it outside. I think the buzz and the direction for the next 2026 in terms of OpenSearch, and we heard it first here on theCUBE, is that it's not worth paying a data tax on an infrastructure layer per use case and per project, but it's better to look at it systematically. And there's a few overarching reasons for that. Each of them we could discuss separately, but to give the audience a taste of that and to hear your feedback, because it's really interesting, is that we can build onto that same layer, use the same data for things like your observability platform, everything else. Instead of paying that tax of 4 times of use of the same data, we're not searching query by query sequentially anymore. We can execute agentic AI searches and possibly get to a speed of 100,000 queries a minute, or maybe even more. And running that on an old CPU-based infrastructure, siloed between different projects, just the cost effectiveness, the management overhead means that consolidating this onto a single AI infrastructure layer is not a lot, it's making it manageable.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at it, I think bringing it all together makes a lot of sense. And I think, like you said, there's a general trend in the industry for consolidation because people don't want to have multiple siloed approaches to everything. They want it consolidated. They want to have their vectors in the same place that they have their actual data so that they can go really quick. Are you seeing that really the momentum with the enterprise has really accelerated? And like you said, one of the largest users of data coming on board, and other companies that are looking at this as being an enterprise grade platform and really accelerating into this and standardizing on it. Have you seen that momentum really change over the last 6 months since we talked?
Absolutely. It's like I touched on earlier. I think OpenSearch has graduated from an experimental platform offering great services into the production enterprise grade standard. And by an infrastructure data layer standard, what we're referring to there is every large company in the world, like you said, the hyperscaling companies, building their use cases on, and by doing that, they're realizing what the gaps actually are. They're realizing that we don't want to run into AI before we got the guardrails on. So what we've been building into OpenSearch are those guardrails for AI. Super interesting examples for the audience to know what's going to be coming out soon.
That's awesome.
Is that we can spin up agentic agents on AI and CGTC that we've spoken about. But when you spin up an agent, an agentic AI agent, in OpenSearch, we built in memory into the agent. So what does that mean? That means a few things. That means that it's not just a transactional AI. It's not like an LLM, we ask it a question, it gives you an answer. The agent will actually have a memory. And from that memory, it will use to give context onto that search. We can trace that through the entire system for security as well. We can combine the agentic search then with not searching across vector search, where we search brown dog, and we get brown cat and brown shoes and white dog and green dog. Okay, we will first filter that by the great power of OpenSearch's lexical search to get more accurate results, so that you've got a secure, reliable, platform-wide RAG backbone for your AI applications, which are cost-effective because it's not hallucinating and it's running on the proper hardware.
How do you see that organizations that are coming here to contribute, and they're going to come back to Europe for OpenSearchCon next month and things of that nature? When you start to look at these companies that are coming in, are they coming in because they're hearing that? They're like, hey, I want to simplify my stack, and OpenSearch helps me do that.
Yeah. I think, Rob, yes, they're coming in because they want to consolidate their stacks. That's a trend that we've seen over and over again at Kubecon. I also think it's a lot to do with the open source movement now. I think it's got a lot of drivers. Operationally, the pace of innovation and development of over 400 companies developing on an OpenSearch platform, which, by the way, could be seen positively and negatively, right? Like, we've got to have really good controls within the software foundation to make sure that the right code is being committed for the right use cases, which we fortunately do have.
Right.
But I think a lot of the drivers is actually coming from the compliance and the sovereignty perspective of consolidating onto OpenSearch, because owning your data and being sovereign over your own data, the open source OpenSearch platform will let you control where your data resides, what you do with your data, and lets you be very agile to what CRA is going to mean when it starts to be implemented in September.
Yeah.
Where am I going to control it? I think the days where they come in and they got, let's put data into this SaaS platform and this PaaS platform and this cloud and that, okay? All becomes now a data risk because things are moving so quickly, and OpenSearch is providing a solid foundation of flexibility for them.
So, as we're starting to wrap up here, Bianca, when we are together this time next year in Barcelona, or even 6 months from now in Salt Lake, what do you hope to be able to say about where OpenSearch is in terms of growth, in terms of community input? What do you hope to be able to say about it?
Okay, I'm an optimist. I think that AI is going to be great. I think we're going to be talking about how AI is monitoring and controlling AI. And I think that we're going to be saying now that OpenSearch has become the de facto data layer for AI infrastructure for most enterprise companies in the world. And stay tuned. In 2 weeks' time, we've got some announcements that are going to pertain to that. We'll see how that impacts our next Kubecon chat.
Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to it, to say the least. I can't wait for the next 2 weeks. So.
Okay, I'm excited, and thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, finally, last question. We're here at Kubecon. I mean, what are some of the most exciting things that you have seen? Exciting, promising new projects, or cool new tech that you would like to? That has sparked your inspiration? Yeah,
I mean, there's some pretty amazing things. I think the last Kubecon, if you remember in North America, in Atlanta, it was a lot about observability, right? Like everywhere we looked was observability. What I've noticed here is that it's a lot about automating AI.
Yeah.
And that's an exciting trend, because I don't think a lot of companies have thought about how it's all going to play with each other. So that infrastructure. So I think it's been fascinating looking at it. It's going to be more fascinating to see how all of this automating open source AI is going to play out over the next 6 months.
Indeed, fascinating. Yes.
I agree.
Well, Bianca, thank you so much for coming on theCUBE. A pleasure having you on.
Thank you for having me on, and speak to you in 6 months.
Speak to you in 6 months.
6
Very
months.
soon.
Exactly.
That wraps up theCUBE's live coverage of KubeCon, CloudNativeCon EU. We've been in Amsterdam all week. I'm Rebecca Knight for Rob Strechay and Paul Nashawati. I'd also like to say a big thank you to our crew, the Henderson brothers, and Ken and Maverick. Thank you to everyone, and thank you all for watching our coverage. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise tech news and analysis.